It's 2:47 in the morning. Your body is exhausted, but your mind has decided that now is the perfect time to replay a conversation from 3 years ago. You remember what you said. Then you imagine what you should have said. You change one sentence, then another, and suddenly your brain is preparing for 10 different disasters that have never happened. Maybe they misunderstood you. Maybe you made the wrong decision. Maybe tomorrow everything will fall apart. You know this thinking is not helping. You know you should sleep. But the harder you try to stop, the louder your thoughts become. So why does your brain do this? And why can't you simply turn it off? What we casually call overthinking usually contains 2 different patterns. The first is rumination. Rumination looks backward. It repeatedly examines mistakes, embarrassing moments, losses, and painful conversations. The second is worry. Worry looks forward. It creates possible threats, uncertain outcomes, and imaginary versions of the future. One asks, why did that happen? The other asks, what if it happens? But both can become part of the same loop, repetitive negative thinking. This loop often feels productive. Your brain tells you that if you examine the problem one more time, you will finally discover the perfect answer. But productive thinking moves toward a decision. Overthinking keeps returning to the same question without producing a new action. It feels like problem solving, but it behaves more like a mental treadmill. You are using enormous amounts of energy. You just aren't going anywhere. To understand why, imagine that your brain is not designed primarily to make you happy. It is designed to keep you alive. And from the brain's perspective, uncertainty can look like danger. Thousands of years ago, an unexplained sound outside the shelter could have been the wind. Or it could have been a predator. The person who ignored every possible threat did not always survive. So the human mind became extremely good at asking one question: what could go wrong? That ability is useful when a real problem requires action. But the modern mind uses the same alarm system for social rejection, unanswered messages, career decisions, and conversations that ended hours ago. When the outcome is uncertain, your brain begins generating possibilities. It believes that more analysis will create more control, and for a moment, it can. Thinking about the problem may temporarily reduce the discomfort of doing nothing. It gives you the feeling that you are preparing, preventing, or protecting yourself. That temporary relief teaches the brain to repeat the process. The next time uncertainty appears, your mind returns to the same strategy. Think more, review everything, predict every outcome, avoid being surprised. Eventually, overthinking can become automatic. A message arrives, and before you have even opened it, your mind has created a story. Someone's tone changes, and you begin searching your memory for what you did wrong. You make a decision, then immediately imagine the life you might have had if you had chosen differently. The problem is not that you think deeply. Deep thinking can create understanding, creativity, and good decisions. The problem begins when thought becomes repetitive, negative, difficult to control, and disconnected from action. There is another reason the loop becomes so powerful. You may try to force the thought away. Don't think about the conversation. Don't think about tomorrow. Don't think about the thing you fear. But to check whether you have stopped thinking about something, part of your mind must continue searching for it. It is like telling yourself not to imagine a red door. For a moment, the red door becomes the most visible object in your mind. Research on thought suppression has found a rebound effect. Trying to forcibly remove a thought can sometimes make it return more often. This is why fighting your mind can feel like pulling on a rope that only becomes tighter. The goal is not to destroy every unwanted thought. The goal is to stop treating every thought as a problem that must be solved.
So how do you interrupt the loop?
Start by naming what is happening. Not, everything is falling apart, but, my mind is producing a threat story. Not, I need to solve this right now, but, I am caught in an overthinking loop. This small distance matters. A thought is something your brain produces. It is not automatically a fact, a prediction, or an instruction. Next, change the question. Overthinking loves enormous questions. What if I ruin my future? Why am I always like this? What if nobody really likes me? These questions have no clear finish line. Replace them with something concrete. Is there an action I can take in the next 24 hours? If the answer is yes, write down the action. Send the email. Ask the question. Make the appointment. Collect the missing information. If the answer is no, more thinking may not create more control. It may only create more versions of the same fear. You can also move the thought out of your head. Write it down using 3 short lines. What am I afraid will happen? What evidence do I actually have? What would I do if it happened? The purpose is not to guarantee that everything will be fine. The purpose is to show your brain that uncertainty is uncomfortable, but survivable. Some people find it useful to create a specific period for worry. When the loop begins, write down the subject and return to it during a short scheduled window later in the day. This does not mean ignoring a real emergency. It means teaching your mind that every anxious thought does not require immediate attention. Then, return to the physical world. Feel your feet against the floor. Notice the temperature of the room. Listen for the most distant sound you can hear. Take one slow breath without demanding that it change your life. Overthinking pulls you into an imaginary past or future. Attention brings you back to the only moment where action is possible. And remember, the objective is not to become a person who never overthinks. That goal can become another thing to overthink. The objective is to recognize the loop earlier, believe it less automatically, and spend less time inside it. Your mind is not your enemy. It is a prediction system trying too hard to protect you from uncertainty. You do not have to obey every warning it creates. Sometimes there is no perfect answer. Sometimes there is only a decision, an uncertain future, and the courage to move forward without knowing everything. Tonight, your mind may return to an old conversation. It may rewrite your words and imagine another ending. Let the thought arrive, notice it, name it, and then remind yourself, this is a thought, not a threat, not a prophecy, and not a place where I have to stay.